First off, what you got to realize is we're in the heart of August. So, volumes kind of light in here. And, the old saying, never short a dull market. Well, this is a dull market. So, kind of the poster child for a dull market. So you can see finished at highs. We're in an active sequence on the SPY. Looking pretty decently. Again, you got to respect price action. The market is just really, if I extend this trend line from the Corona low, we are still just riding this thing all the way up on the SPY. If we go to the monthly chart, kind of zoom in here. I mean, again, stair stepping up. No reason really to really be fearful in here. If we go to the weekly chart on this, you can kind of see weekly chart bullish as well on the SPY. Respecting these weekly levels really nicely. If we go to the hourly chart here, we broke out of this high volume node that we had been in for a while last week. So the market just continues to kind of press on up, riding this 20 on the hourly chart pretty nicely. We're above the 200. So everything looking pretty decent on the SPY. Again, these weekly levels prove to be pretty good levels to trade against. Last week, this was a pretty good level to trade against. So need to have those on your charts. As far as the Qs started off poorly for the week and then kind of roared back. You can see on the hourly chart. If we go to the monthly on the Qs and actually, let me do it this way. Go to the monthly on the Qs, you can kind of see marching up. Got a little bit better. Look like we're gonna have some rotation. The weekly chart looks really interesting to me. It's kind of wedging in here on the Qs, so kind of wedging with the flat top in here, and the daily chart doing its thing. Not finishing at highs like the SPY, but still pretty strong. Came back strong again into the end of the week. Looked like we might be breaking down, but really Thursday and Friday kind of negated that, brought us back up to this, interesting level here. I believe this is the high from 3 weeks ago. So this is definitely an area to keep an eye on. We are above the 200. We are above the 20. So everything looking pretty good on the top. IWM continuing to do nothing. Okay. Still looking like it wants to, maybe kind of try to get back above this 50. 50 is a lid right now for the IWM. So still going sideways. We're still at the midpoint of this range. So, look at the hourly. You can kind of see just kind of, bouncing around. We are oversold level 2 at the lows for the week. So we'll see going into next week what we can get going. And then, of course, leading the way last week was the Dow Jones. The Dow leading as higher. Nice stocks looking pretty strong. Looking around, the other fundamental indicators we're looking at. Oil still looking weak, below its moving averages. Looks like it wants to kind of roll over. Still thinking we're getting some weak action in oil. We did have a bounce in gold off its bottoms. So, you got to be careful. We had some pretty important data sets over the last couple of weeks that kind of pushed gold down, came down into this area of support almost to the T right in here. You can kind of see this. Kind of came down into the support here, and kind of found its way back up above this all important level. As we talked about and we expected, the dollar did kind of fall off from this double top here from July. So it'd be interesting to see. We're kind of into this support zone in the dollar, so we'll see if it keeps on falling. And bonds, as we expected, fell into the end of the week as it got rejected from its 50 on the 10-year. Again, down to a very important zone here. So if this is just going to be a pullback, then we would expect that bonds start coming back up, maybe retesting this 50, and expect the dollar at the same interesting level. We'd expect the dollar to kind of, retest and come back up. As far as Bitcoin's concerned, Bitcoin strong, strong move, holding in on this nice active sequence in here. Is a little overbought on the RSI, but as you can see, Bitcoin can stay overbought on the RSI. So nice little level in here. Looks like it's got a date with 50,000. So the breakout from the bottom in Bitcoin and Ethereum continue as it's doing. Ethereum's doing its march up to this 3,600 level area. So looking pretty decent there. As far as the sectors this week, sectors that were strong, XME, metals and mining, they were up 5.4% for the week. Steel, sticking with the same theme, was up 4.27. You had consumer staples up 2.21. You had the home builders up 2.3. And then you also had transportations, which, is pretty decent. Because typically old school traders want to see transportation kind of lead, breaking it down, downtrending trend line, running into the 50, finding a little resistance there, but up 2%. And then, you had the XLF financials running up 1.9%. So as you can see, not sexy areas as far as what's leading the market right now. If we go and look at tech and we look at the Fangman, you got Facebook. Interesting look here on Facebook. Looks like it's making possibly a lower high here. So we'll see. Facebook still holding in on the 9 active sequence, but we'll be watching out to see if Facebook rolls over. Amazon is the weakest of the group. You can see down here finding support down at its 200. Also looking, Microsoft is the strongest of the group, strongest looking chart. Definitely stock looking forward to, looking going forward. May get going. Twitter, as Nick kind of pointed out last week, weaker. Snap, still up there on its flag, but looking a little bit weaker below the 9. Looks like it kind of wants to fall off. So we're seeing, a little bit of a mixed bag, but a little bit more weakness than we expected. The marijuana sector, we got a Mo, I think, kind of brought it up a little bit. Hey, is it time to buy marijuana? Well, I think, ever since he made that comment, marijuana just kind of falling off the face. You can kind of see Grow Generation kind of dropping down here. You got some of the other crime just looking very, very weak. Canopy Growth, very weak. All the marijuana stocks, it's not a time to be just ugly charts. Another sector, not only is dirty energy been really weak lately, so is clean energy, following from NEO's earnings. NEO kind of falling off, looking weak. Looks like it wants to come back down to this support zone. So I would at least lay off that there. Fisker, somebody had asked us on our show about buying Fisker. It's kind of just fallen completely off. And you can see it couldn't get above our buy zone right here. So that was the signal. Couldn't really close above there. Has since fallen off. Now it's back down to support. So be interesting to see what happens there. Plug Power, weak, and Blink, weak. So all the EV clean energy, so to speak, stocks definitely looking weak. We had a really good week as far as what we were focusing on last week. As far as our group, we had a pretty good week. Still sitting in some pretty decent positions. So we'll review them just real quick. Tysons Food, we got in here, nice ignition candle on earnings. We got in day 2. And it's confirmed, and we're still in this stock at you know, just level 4, you know, we did take a bunch of profits, but you can see it's still kind of holding above this breakout point at the highs there. So if you kind of go to the monthly chart, you can see it kind of looks like almost like a head and shoulders in here. So you've got to be careful when you see some confirmation, but pretty big monthly bar so far. So, you know, that's why you don't see this if you don't really come out to the monthly chart. So that's why we do that. And so that's why you want to take a look at that weekly bar. Nice big weekly bar coming out of earnings. Again, this all important area. It's going to be an important area here for this stock. It did close above it, which was good, and you had decent volume. So we'll see if that can confirm going forward. Coming off Nick's play, we're still sitting in Wal Mart. Nice little breakout above this level. A little worried about retail in general. If you look at it, retail looks a little toppy in here. Looks like it may want to kind of fall off a little bit. If you look at the monthly chart, you know, we kind of had, it was kind of like a little doji, but we are coming off a nice wick the month prior, which is typically a bullish signal. But we're kind of, you know, last week we had a wick to the other side on the weekly. So just be careful in here with Walmart. But, you know, if you look at Walmart on the weekly chart, pretty decent looking weekly chart here. So, you know, look at that weekly chart compared to the daily chart. So, you know, nice little breakout there in Walmart. Still sitting in that, still sitting in for solar a little bit. Again, you know, did break out, but not really doing anything. And this is kind of bucking the trend because solar in general has been weak. So, you know, don't have a high conviction on that one. Union Pacific still sitting in on this trend line breakout. Pretty decent breakout here, closed above this trend line, you know, played it all the way up into here, still looking strong going forward. We are in Tractor Supply. It's kind of flagging after its breakout. You know, if you look at the monthly chart on Tractor Supply, you can kind of see what we're looking at. Still looks kind of strong so far, but we're only in the middle of that monthly bar, so just be careful. And we're looking like a breakout on the weekly chart. So like this stock going forward still, looks a lot better on the weekly as far as going through. We did kind of bump out on Unity Software. I mean, this did close at highs. Unity, the volume starting to decrease, getting a higher RSI. Nice breakout of earnings. So this one finally going. We'll see if it can keep on going. Apple, we are still in Apple in this breakout. We will be buying any dips in this one. I think this is an outlier to the Bang Gang. You know, they do have some products coming up, a product launch coming up. They typically run into that. We are looking for a breakout of this nice tight consolidation, and we got it. So, you know, if you go up a little bit, look at the monthly chart on Apple, looks like a breakout, looks pretty decent there. If you go to the weekly chart, looks like a nice little flag in here. So we'll see if it can continue its upward ascent. And then finally, you know, we were in this stock twice. First on its initial breakout up into here, but this earnings play here, this ignition candle was a lot better play. Nice strong volume. Got some strong action. We were looking for 200, closed above it at 203. So it'll be interesting to see if Upstart can keep on going. You can see the monthly chart there, big ignition candle out of there. And you can see the weekly candle, which just looks, you know, pretty impressive. And if you look at these candles, you know, Upstart has had these type of weekly candles before. You know, you had a pretty decent second week here. This week here was a little bit different, but it did follow through up into here into the next week. So, you know, Upstart definitely one that could keep on going, close near highs. So that's where we're sitting at with positions. Okay, looking at some stocks going forward. Okay, we were looking at this Crispr to possibly do a breakout. Did not happen. Failed back below the 200. So back off the list on this one. Be careful because you have some of the payment processors looking a little bit weak. Though, you know, with Visa, still think Visa is strong. You got this nice descending trend line that we love these breaks. So we'll be looking forward to see if this one can, you know, get a base and then maybe get going. One of the stocks we missed but we had it on our list was Datadog. You know, you can kind of see, and I'm going to take off that line right in there. You can just kind of see nice little gap up, pull into value, which is the 9 EMA. Nice flag. It is strong, did close strong. It did close really kind of at this highs here. So, you know, Datadog can keep on going. Okay, if we go up, we look at the monthly chart, nice breakout in the monthly chart. If you go to the weekly chart, you can kind of see nice breakout. So you had a nice big candle here on the weekly, nice breakout out of here on Datadog. And now last week was just a second bar confirmation. So Datadog looking strong. Roblox, you know, we did trade this last week, profitable. Nice little move out of here. You do have the 50 sitting overhead a little bit, but it is getting better in here. You can kind of see, you know, nice little higher lows. You need to see it hold this level of this breakout here at 83.50 level. Want to see that level hold. If you go up to the monthly chart, you know, looks like, you know, we're in the process again, half a bar, half a month. So be careful, you know, but the weekly, get a nice little breakout on the weekly. So the weekly looks really good in Roblox. So, but we do have this 50 sitting overhead. So we want to make sure we can clear that and start getting these moving out. But all the moving averages starting to kind of come together going forward. So definitely something to look at. The other one that I've had on my list almost every week is Snow. Snow actually, actually had a second day. So, you know, we've talked about it. We've played Snow in these breakouts and then they fail the next day. Breakout and they fail, but still nice if you look in here, holding the 9, nice ascent up. You know, you do have a second day, closed at highs. So strong action in Snow. If we go up on the charts on Snow on the monthly, nice little breakout here. If you look at the weekly, nice little breakout in the weekly here. So, and again, closed at highs, which is what you like to see. So Snow, we'll be watching this stock going forward. Another stock that kind of popped up on my list was Airbnb, still in this, you know, this tight zone, hasn't broken out of here, but, you know, what kind of caught my eye, you kind of got that area right there, nice high volume on, and again, we had earnings, so nice high volume on earnings, nice little breakout. So we'll see if it can get back up above that level. But you want to see it hold. You can see I had tried to have a breakout here, tried to have a breakout here, tried to have a breakout here. And this is when it was above and closed above the 50. So, you know, we want to see it close above this area. And then I think you can possibly get going. I don't, you know, stock I always want to own and I never seem to possibly do own, but actually, you know, kind of getting going finally is Chewy. Corona play a little bit, I guess, but good fundamentally sound company. Chewy doing well. A little bit of a topping candle possibly, so we'll see. But, you know, nice little breakout in Chewy, so we'll be watching that one going forward. Healthcare has done well, and, you know, we played this stock before, MDT. Just kind of want to point it out. It is back above the moving averages. It is back above this level, this 127.18 level that I was kind of looking at. So, you know, if healthcare gets going, you know, this is one that, you know, could be an interesting play going forward. One to kind of look that we played a couple of weeks ago, which you're still in, I guess, is Crocs. Still riding the lightning, we call it, riding this 9 EMA all the way up, closed at highs. Looks like it's got destiny for 150. So one of the specialty retail plays that seems to be sticking strong. RSI very overextended. But, you know, if you look at the Bollinger Bands, you know, kind of spread out and wide. So we'll see. Last time it kind of got spread out and wide. You can kind of see we kind of rolled over into, it looks like it wants to roll into a maybe a consolidated period and then get going again. But we'll see. That's Crocs. MCD, McDonald's. I like this one. I like, you know, some of the food plays. I think they can get going. Nice little breakout here that we did play, and then it pulled back into this zone. Nice tight zone. I love the fact that this is nice and tight in here, tight area. And now we close strong back above. So this one could be in an active sequence, getting ready to go back up. If you look at the higher time frame on this one, you can kind of see monthly. We got a nice little tail forming. after a nice big ignition candle the previous month. And then on the weekly, again, trying to get going, nice little tail forming, closing at highs on the weekly. So I think McDonald's could be in play, which also brings me back to Starbucks. Starbucks kind of pulling back down into the 50. Okay. I think this one was a little overextended on this breakout. So be on the lookout. If food play is going to get going again, I think Starbucks, I like to see RSI back above 50. I like to see it get back above these moving averages, but I think a break above this 119, Starbucks comes back into play. Nice little close and hold on the value zone of the 50. So we'll see if that can get going in the play. Disney had earnings, did not hold, nice little breakout in here. I'd be a little suspect of this, especially with it closing at lows. So, Disney not on our list right now, but we'll see how it reacts. Nucor continues to break out from our trade that we called out last week. Nice. It was a nice trader. Nice play. DEERE still, breaking out. We kind of called this one out last week. And then Square, right? Square. Interesting one on Square. It looks very weak from its breakout, right? But still the moving average is pointing up. And then you have this you see these tops up here, right? So you have this trend line here that's kind of finding support, right? So I was initially looking, all right, well, what are you going to have happen in here? But you got a nice little trend line here. So look to see if this finds some support. The pullback has all been weaker volume. RSI still sitting above 50. So let's see if Square maybe can find a base in here and get going. If it violates this trend line, then, I'm not interested at all. But that's what I have for you today, guys. I know Nick might have some additional stocks that he may want to bring up. I know we got earnings in NVIDIA. We got earnings in Target, in Lowe's next week. I expect thin trading action next week. I expect thin trade action going into the rest of August. So we're precariously sitting up there, but I am going to hand this over to Nick so he can go through and
enable sharing.
So he can give you some of his thoughts.
Cool. All right. Well, I will just go over a couple more here. I'm talking about some of the ones that I'm watching going into the week here, some that have set up for the day trading, some that have set up for weekly, and I'll talk some of the top earnings plays that could make some moves before. FLGC is the first one I'll talk about, just because this one was in play previously, has a nice run, takes a couple days, has a nice run, took like about 2 weeks in here, held up, and then on Friday it broke out, finished really strong. So I would expect this one to probably be in play as a day trader at some point. So we'll see what happens there. Where that ends up opening up on Monday, but that'll be one of the day trading ones. In terms of stocks that are setting up on the daily that I like, first of all, I like Open. Reported earnings on Thursday, sitting up here at a nice resistance level after Friday's kind of action. As long as it doesn't drop out from some of these lows, I think if it can get through this resistance, I got some room to run here. DraftKings as well, pulling back, testing the 200 pretty nicely here after breaking out through it. Got a little bit of resistance here where we failed from several times, but last time we kind of got through it and held it. It led to a little bit of a run, so I'd like to see this one hold up here and start pushing as well. Hopefully that happens this week. Other than that, there's also Palantir. So Palantir reported earnings on Thursday as well. They now are kind of just holding up here as well, kind of in suspended air. If they get through Friday's highs, I'd like to see them potentially get going here. It is one of those previous meme stocks that I would like to see if it can get going. Probably not my favorite on the list, but it does have potential based on past price action. Pfizer really rebounded here. Closed at the highs on Friday. I'd like to see this one continue as well with its strength. Kind of wedged in here for 3 days, 3 consecutive smaller days, inside day, and then Friday it kind of broke out. So I'm hoping that momentum kind of continues. Yes, it is overvalued. Yes, it's gone really fast, really far. But right now the momentum's up. So I may look for a short at some point on this one, but right now it's looking like it wants to break out. unlike Myrna, which, had a really good short last week, finally spent the last 2 days of the week really kind of consolidating in here nicely and kind of nesting itself in here. If I go to the hourly chart, I'd really like to see it start to get through some of these lows here of the last couple of days, and then I think we could start returning our way back down to the mid 300s, maybe even low 300s. Still well above the 20-day and so on, but we'll see. That one's not quite set up to break, but it has potential if it does. Another stock that I've been waiting for the short on is Costco. Not going to even touch the short on this until it shows me that it's ready to break levels. Obviously, this one's been a hell of a breakout since it happened 2 months ago at this point. It's been in complete active sequence. I think it's just getting a little overcooked. So I think at some point we'll get some profit taking. Again, not going to be the first one to short on this one, but I will be watching, setting almost like a trailing moving average on it, so that when it does start violating lows, I think we'll get some profit taking. You also have Hood, Robinhood, waiting for this one to kind of wake back up and drop off or break out, whatever it's going to do. But it's been spending a couple of days just kind of snaking around here. Thought we were going to get the puke off in here and really kind of come back down. Hasn't quite yet. So I think at some point we're either going to get a short squeeze or we're going to get a roll through here. Whether that happens this week or not, I don't know, but I'll set some alerts through some of these levels that it's set over the last couple of days and wait to see if it wakes up or not. I'm kind of interested in ROKU here. It's gotten down to its 200-day simple moving average, and last time it did, we found some support at the 200 here. Now it could keep rolling through, and then you'd have actually a pretty good short opportunity potentially because you've got a lot of room on the downside here, almost getting in the oversold territory on the RSI, but not quite yet. So I would definitely not just blindly buy that. We've seen plenty of stocks where we always tell people to wait to make sure buyers are going to absorb the price because they could just keep going and not stop. I'll play this. I'd be interested to play this in either direction, honestly. Really looking weak on this one after that failure and just been on a channel down since earnings. So that one could be interesting. Another stock that's setting up to break out is Hershey. This one's kind of been a fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me stock. We've tried this several times, but I'll watch because if it breaks this 180, I think this has some potential just based on really nice resistance. We'll see if it breaks. I'd like it to, but we'll see. In terms of stocks that are reporting earnings this week that you should keep an eye on and I think will be in play. So Mike already mentioned Wal Mart as a play that we've been watching. Wal Mart actually reports earnings this week. They report on Tuesday morning, so it'll be interesting to see where that is. You also have Home Depot. Home Depot has been a stock in play for us for a while now. They report earnings on Tuesday as well. So I'm curious to see where they end up. Wednesday, you have Lowe's, which is obviously a competitor to Home Depot, not been performing as strongly. So I just want to see if some of these maybe make a move in anticipation of earnings. You see people position themselves. Tech stocks, Mike already mentioned NVIDIA is reporting earnings. They report Wednesday after the close, as well as Cisco. Cisco's been a really good trader. I caught out this breakout back on our, back in the first quarter, and then second quarter we've kind of been flagging around the third quarter, but we're kind of starting to ascend here and speed up. Almost a little bit of a cup and handle here as we're starting to look like we want to break higher. So maybe this one starts picking up as well. YY, if you want to see a stock that's been in a hell of a downward channel here, this YY has really been weak. It's a China company for those who don't know, and the China companies have been very, very weak, but this one in a nice little just down channel. Not really been holding up well, so I'm curious to see what this one does after earnings on Wednesday after the close. I mentioned Costco. Well, Costco actually has a competitor that's reporting earnings on Thursday, BJ's. BJ's kind of had a couple of weak days here, so I'm curious to see if their earnings maybe affects Costco or affects some of the other stocks. We've seen some movement in that sector. Kroger obviously breaking out. Costco's doing what it's doing, I already mentioned, and then BJ's had a failed breakout, but they report earnings. And he had also mentioned retail. Well, we've got some retail earnings as well. Macy's reports on Thursday. This is a stock we've traded in the past. Kohls reports on Thursday as well. That's another pretty decent retail stock. Ross reports Thursday after the close. Another retail stock. Foot Locker is on Friday. A little weaker in the shoe company department, but they've moved and grooved in the past before. So a lot of retail earnings that could affect this sector as a whole. And then finally, some of the other three stocks that I'm watching. Friday, we have DEERE. Obviously, a lot can happen before Friday, but this is really starting to curl up here at the at these highs, this beautiful highs where we failed last time on. So this could either be a failure play, it could be a breakout play. I'm not sure, but this one has obviously been a very strong stock. We'll see if this one continues or not, what goes on here, but it's at a very interesting level. AMAT, which is Applied Materials, I know we've traded this one in several times, just failed off of here, kind of pulling down here. Still higher lows. You could probably draw a pretty decent trend line on these lows to connect them. So I want to see if it bounces here or if it violates those lows. That reports earnings on Thursday as well. And then finally, and I only wanted to mention this one in case Mo watches, MSGS. This is his darling stock that has slowly been draining his bank account. But they report earnings on Thursday. This has been in a nice downward channel, kind of a reopening play, if you will. Kind of curious to see what happens there with that one. So, nice little bit of channel here that you can watch. So that was really it. The only thing I wanted to mention in terms of the market that I forgot to bring up is I wanted to also get Mike's thoughts on this. I'm a little concerned about some of the internals in the market. So, for example, and we talked about this on Friday's show and Thursday's show, despite the market breaking out those last 2 days, advanced decline's been negative for the last 2 days of the week. Honestly, it was negative for the majority of the week last week. Advanced decline was negative. The amount of stocks trading above their 50-day SMA didn't really do too much. So it was pretty interesting to see those internals be as ugly as they were. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it is. The internals are ugly. The problem is it's and look, I mean, definitely cautious where we are because the market profile structure is very weak on this upswing, but it was weak going into last week, from its breakout, and it still made a new high this week. So I think what's really coming into I think the rally extension is just about could be up, because you got Jackson Hole coming in about a week and a half towards the end of August. I think the market players may be repositioning a little bit out of that, but little worried. I mean, I just think that whole adage, "Go short a dull market." I mean, this is a dull market. Look how small some of these these bars, these candles are compared to. I mean, we're just kind of riding the upper channel of the SPY, and there's still been some good stock picking action, so you just gotta stick with it. We had a really good week from last week. Nucor was one of our top plays that we called out last week, and just really good action. So let's just let's try to stay with it. But the internals have gotten decidedly weak, and VIX has gotten really low. I mean, I mean, you can see, we're not that far off from where typically you get a spike from. VIX doesn't. We're down at that. We hit that 15-16 area, 15-13 area, and it's kind of, it can get a little bit weaker, but then you'll typically get that spike up in volatility, and that's what this market eats. But we'll see. We'll see if we get it over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And the last thing I wanted to mention was the economics to expect. It's going to be pretty quiet on Monday with only Empire Manufacturing Survey, but Powell does speak on Tuesday. It's like a town hall with, I believe, students and educators. So, like I said on Friday, unless someone some student comes in educated and grills them on inflation, I don't know if he'll say anything or if anything will happen, but you never know. And most of the economic data is honestly going to be the first half of the week. We do have FOMC minutes on Wednesday, but I don't expect anything out of that meeting. So because it's for the past meeting, so I'm not expecting too much. So we'll see. But that's it for me.
Awesome. All right, guys.